Hello, Master Brokers. I'm Jeff Moore, Chair of the Miami Master Brokers Forum, and it's a pleasure to see you again for our fourth virtual panel discussion this year. We thank you for joining us and for your continued membership in the MBF during these uncertain times. We remain hopeful for return to in-person meetings as soon as possible, while feeling grateful for the opportunity to gather virtually and safely. Today, despite the challenges of the pandemic, we focus on Miami as the land of opportunity for anyone in search of precious tax benefits, advantageous currency rates and exchanges, virtually ideal climate, housing values, and extraordinary lifestyle that has brought people to our shores for decades. As reported in Miami's Monday edition, Miami Herald's Monday edition, COVID-19 has had a surprisingly positive effect on our local residential market, as historically low interest rates and demand for single-family homes has spiked in the past few months. Even Miami's condo market, some of the spillover of this enormous demand for Miami homes. If you missed the report, I encourage you to find it on our various social media platforms after the discussion. Of course, none of this is news to the master brokers like you. We're experiencing phenomenon firsthand. Our goal with today's panel of experts we'll introduce shortly is to further examine the nature of these amazing opportunities for home buyers, what to expect in a post-COVID climate, and how to communicate this information with your clients. During the Zoom meeting, which is being recorded and saved for those who are unable to join us today, everyone will be muted except for the panelists and myself. We encourage you to submit questions via Zoom's chat feature, and we'll do our best to answer them during and after the discussion. Please remain once the discussion is completed for a few quick housekeeping notes, and be advised that any slides or presentations you see today will be emailed to you in the days to come. Now let's meet our esteemed panelists, starting with the lady who spent $70,000 on her hair, Nicole Cunningham.
Hello.
Nicole is a partner with hi Nicole, is a partner with H & Co., a South Florida CPA and advisory firm dedicated to working with international investors since 1992. In over a decade, Nicole has helped over 3,000 foreign investors navigate tax compliance as they conduct business and acquire real estate in the United States. In 2020, Forbes magazine recognized H & Company as America's top, is that correct, H & Company or H & Co.?
Well, it was Hernandez and Company, so we shortened it to H & Co. So we can go.
Perfect. So let's go with H & Co. as one of America's top recommended tax firms. Nicole is a graduate of Florida State University, a board member of the Spain U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and a volunteer with the Women of Tomorrow. She was born and raised in Miami and is fluent in both English and Spanish. This is her third time back as an MBF panelist. Thank you so much. So please join me in welcoming Nicole.
Hello. Thank you very much.
We can't hear all of the claps, unfortunately, but we know they're there. Bill Talbert. Bill, for more than 3 decades, has distinguished himself as a highly respected visitor industry and community leader, serving as president and CEO of the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. Among his major accomplishments are assisting with the passage of the U.S. Travel Promotion Act, the Miami-Dade Food and Beverage Tax, as well as helping spearhead destination marketing efforts globally. To ensure the future success of Miami's meetings industry, Bill championed efforts to secure a $620 million renovation of the Miami Beach Convention Center, a subsequent voter approval to establish a headquarter hotel at the center as well. He also led efforts to win and subsequently host 5 Super Bowls, including the NFL Super Bowl Centennial celebration in 2020. His leadership is sought after by many organizations, and throughout the pandemic and subsequent industry response, he has served on a number of national and municipal boards working to ensure Miami's health and economic recovery. Welcome, Bill. Everyone's clapping. And finally, last but not least, Kelly Cutchin is a manager with Money Corp's U.S. corporations, where she leads a team of foreign exchange experts who work very closely with their global offices, educating professionals in the importance of understanding the foreign exchange market and helping realtors promote their businesses internationally are just a couple of Kelly's initiatives and passions. Kelly served as chairman or chairperson of the Global Real Estate Council of Orlando and continues to sit on the Global Committee, as well as several other global committees at various real estate organizations throughout the state. Kelly is personally presented alongside many of the SIPS instructors who find Money Corp services vital to their students and their success with foreign clients. Master brokers, please welcome Kelly Cutchin.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're going to start the questions this time individually, and then we'll get into group questions, and then we'll allow the audience to throw in some questions as well. So we'll start with Nicole Cunningham. Nicole, can you please tell us about the tax benefits for U.S. citizens relocating to Miami?
Okay, so I put together a few slides, not to bore anyone too much, but it's important to really see the detail. So we work with a lot of foreign investors that are immigrating to the U.S., buying properties in the U.S. or starting companies in the U.S. And prior to, I'd say, 2009, it was really a free-for-all in South America, Latin America, and some European countries in terms of tax and reporting. That's really been cut down a lot. There's been a lot of implementation of CRS, which is the Global Common Reporting Standards. The OECD has cracked down a lot. We have FATCA in the US. So now every country is really cracking down on their code system and in their implementation, and they have the help of other countries and other banks that are now sharing the information of residents from their country that may have assets or bank accounts or just other foreign financial assets abroad that are not reporting. Now that every client's seeing, okay, well, I really have to clean this up, declare each year, as they have had to, but many times there was different ways around it. Most countries are really squeezing in, and because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed, slashing our corporate rate from 35% to 21%, we're now extremely competitive amongst all the countries in the world that are really competing for corporations to relocate their headquarters there. When it comes to individual income tax, this is the table that I have on my screen. You'll see United States is all the way at the bottom with 37. These are a lot of the countries that we're seeing that are immigrating to the US, and this is just from an income tax standpoint. Then there's wealth tax, and then there's estate tax. So comparatively speaking, the US is really taxpayer friendly, both from an investment standpoint, if you're just looking to buy property here in the US to hold and sell, from a relocation standpoint, and we know that because we're doing a lot of pre-immigration tax planning and showing them this is what your tax bill would look like if you were to move here and relocate here tomorrow. And also just from a general investment standpoint, holding financial assets, starting a company here. So the tax incentives are huge because now they're compared to their countries that are really cracking down. And we, in general, have a very business-friendly climate. They're very shocked that in Florida, you can open a company in 3 days. There's really loose requirements compared to their country. And there's also, everything's significantly simpler. I know for us, we think there's a lot of bureaucracy, but not compared to Colombia. To open a company in Colombia, which we're doing right now for ourselves, it's taken like 3 weeks. And here you could go to Sunbiz and register it that day. So clients are really starting to look to see where they're going to situate themselves. And Miami has always been a major hub because of the capacity to find people from your same culture, the capacity to speak in your same language, and just how overall taxpayer friendly it is now that every other country is really locking in on that.
Thank you, Nicole. Bill Talbert, any idea where we stand in terms of flights coming into Miami, both nationally and internationally today versus pre-COVID?
I'm glad you asked that. A couple of things. Probably nobody would. I'll have a little quiz. Right now, we've got flights to MIA from 45 domestic markets. 45 domestic markets. It's basically half of what it was last year. In international markets, can anybody guess how many cities are serving Miami from international markets? 45
30.
Domestic, huh?
How many? 30?
Is there another guess?
I don't think anybody else can speak other than the panel.
Oh, okay.
To be heard. Kelly, do you have a guess?
40.
40.
Okay,
50.
good.
Okay.
It's 44. It's 44.
Oh, nice.
And it's growing. In fact, I can tell you inside information that there's going to be some announcements pretty soon about some more international flights from new places with new carriers. I can tell you right today there are service from 7 European cities: Frankfurt, Istanbul, Lisbon, London, Madrid, Paris, and Zurich. Probably most of us would have thought says we're getting no air service. Now it may be less frequency, but from Latin America, 20 cities: Bogota, Buenos Aires, Cancun, Guadalajara, Medellin, Mexico City, Panama City, Quito, San Jose, Santiago, 20 cities. And in the Caribbean, it is 17 cities. So it's half of what it was a year ago, but very slowly, but very surely, air service is returning. And I think the one thing, you know, we all follow this. And a recent Zoom I was on basically said, you know, everybody's concerned about air travel, but there has been air service. People have been flying, and you haven't heard one story, I haven't, of one you know, virus that got on an airplane. We've been on air with the airlines, and they say that in an airplane today, with the systems they have, the air recirculates with fresh air every 3 to 5 minutes. I happen to be back in my office downtown. Fresh air recirculates maybe in where I'm at, maybe in hours. So to some extent, flying on an airplane, everybody has to wear the mask. You have the mask or you don't fly. Is some of the safest modes of travel, not widely accepted. I think they need to just get more messaging out. Once again, the fact that we haven't heard any horror stories of people getting sick on the airplanes tells me that, and we all know with the iPhones and everything, we see this stuff in real time. And so I haven't yet flown on a plane, but I know people who have flown to New York to see their families. And so, you know, it's one of these things, it's you start slow. I reopened my office Monday morning. And, you know, we told people if you don't feel comfortable coming in, don't, but the schools are open. And, you know, I'm in a vulnerable group. So you got the gray hair, so I'm in a vulnerable group. But
I thought that was just coloring. That
costs a lot of money. That's silver, very expensive. But, you know, we ventured out. We've still got to mask up to open up. But I don't think anybody really realizes the amount of air service we have already. Remember, it's half of what it was a year ago. It's getting better and better and better. You know, in our high days, I guess before March 16th, Miami International, I think this is to all of your customers, Miami International Airport was the only airport in the country served by more than 100 airlines. There's 109 airlines. No other airport was over 100. So it's one of the easiest places to get in and out of. And some of the stuff we've all seen in the past, some people for your business come for a vacation, they look around, you say, wow, why don't I move here? Why don't I start a business here? We all know those stories. And of course, now with the tax situation, it's even more robust. I live in the North Grove, and the $1 million houses, you know, I couldn't afford my house today, but the $1 million houses on our street, they're selling like hotcakes. So we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. None of us can say when that's going to happen. When, you know, Bill, when are we going to get out of this? You know, I don't know. Remember in June, we opened up our hotels. We're fine. We went to all these hotels, starting south to north. And then what happened in July? Boom, closed up. So at the end of the day, we can open. You see some low rates. You know, the rates are staying low, but you know, because of the tax reasons, I've known people come from the north and come south, and they say just by moving, they got a pay raise, 10-20% pay raise by moving. Why not? Easy to get to, the most international of cities in the country. And I'm looking out my window, the 27th floor of 701 Brickell. Wow, what a great place. So that's my piece.
Great, thank you, Bill. Kelly Cutchin, what are some of the top foreign feeder markets of South Florida right now, in terms of not only those that are coming here, but those that are overseas, maybe can't make it here, but are in the process of relocating or buying real estate here?
All right, great question. So
Thank
Money Corp can exchange over 120 different currency pairs. I certainly don't want to lead you on to believe that we can exchange every currency out there, but we can exchange the majority of the major currencies. The currencies that we're seeing for the most part flow into Florida at the moment that we can transact are, of course, your Canadian buyers, your European and British buyers, and your Brazilian clients still. Now, the funny thing that I keep hearing is about, everyone saying, oh, they're working with, northern domestic clients that are looking to relocate into South Florida. So I think Christopher even mentioned, it might've been before everybody joined, that he had a couple clients from Connecticut, right? Which is fantastic, because as long as you're selling houses, we're really not bothered where the buyers are coming from. But what we're seeing is oftentimes when you're maybe assisting a domestic buyer, they're perhaps purchasing a property that was formerly owned by a foreign national. So then you're in a situation where actually, okay, you're not working with a foreign buyer, but you've got a foreign seller. So we're seeing a heck of a lot of Brits and Europeans, and even we're starting to see a number of Brazilians list their properties and sell them. And why do we think we're seeing this? Of course, we're seeing this because there's a high demand for their properties. They realize they can sell them for great value. But then when you couple that with the fact that they are experiencing a substantial fluctuation with the currency that is actually massively beneficial to them, when you put the numbers in front of them, they just can't say no. So we're seeing certainly people continue to buy even when they're doing, sight unseen. If they're not able to travel here, they are doing closings still, and they are happening. But we're really starting to see that increase in foreign national sellers because of the strength of the US dollar throughout COVID as a safe haven currency. Some of the major
you're saying that they're selling because of the strength of the dollar?
You got it. So
because they're concerned that the dollar will decrease in value against foreign currencies?
As an example, if you look back about 10 years, right, everybody was dealing with a British buyer. Why? The exchange rate was 2 to 1. Every property that you were selling them was half price for them. Well, now in mid-March, around March 16th, as Christopher mentioned earlier, we saw the exchange rate between the British pound and the US dollar hit 1.06. which effectively means that they could sell that property and make almost double the money, back in their base currency. So they can sit tight and they can purchase again when all of this is done. The pound will likely recover. There's a lot of things going on with Brexit. Of course, our election, there's going to continue to be volatility in the market. And a lot of these folks do sell with the anticipation to reinvest in the future. Or they may be selling in Florida because they're going, you know what, we've enjoyed our vacation time in Florida for the past 10 years. We now want to perhaps invest in Portugal or Spain or somewhere else, right? And that's okay too, because we're continuing to see, as we all know, a heck of a lot of domestic northerners come south. And of course, international customers are going to continue to come into Florida. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, Kelly, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Nicole?
Yes.
Nicole, any new international tax laws we should be discussing with our clients or having them discuss with you?
International tax laws?
Mm-hmm.
So
coming into the States.
Okay, this is not that new, but this is something that we're seeing create a lot of movement and a lot of buzz, and that's a implementation of a wealth tax. So Argentina just implemented a significant tax change. I don't know if you recall, but about 2 or 3 years ago, they had an amnesty program where everybody was able to bring their undeclared assets back to Argentina and only pay like a small penalty. And they were doing that in the troves because they wanted to invest in Argentina. that same president then changed the rules slightly, and now they're really increasing certain tax rates and they're implementing certain wealth taxes. So what we saw was a lot of individuals wanting to basically gift to their US children or US beneficiaries to take it out of their estate and into the children's estate. And that's where we have to come into play and say, okay, you may be causing an issue for the tax child, but it can, for the US person, but it can be mitigated. And they want them to invest in real estate and or financial assets, but mostly real estate because they want to just something secure that they can hold their value. But that's been a big thing that we've seen a lot. Argentines really trying to once again segregate their risk because they brought everything back and now they're trying to get out, and they're really limited on the amount of dollar that they can take out. Chile recently lifted not a ban, but certain rules that allow for more foreign investment, and I believe they lessened the tax burden of having these foreign investments. So in the past 3 weeks, and especially with what happened in Chile, I can't even tell if that was a year ago or in the same year, but there was a significant uproar in their social system, and there was a lot of protests and a lot of burning down of transportation, and a lot of very wealthy Chileans for the first time in a long time started really considering like sending their assets abroad or starting to look abroad. So in the past 3 weeks, I've met with 5 different Chilean law firms as they have more and more, not funds, but mini funds. So groups of Chilean investors, they'll form like an LLC, 3 of them, and owned by Chilean companies, and they're going to invest in either properties, commercial properties, not necessarily for them to live and not necessarily in Florida, but anywhere in the US. So they're looking at commercial properties, and Chile has always been pretty quiet. They've always really invested in their own country, and now that they're having so much turmoil and they've allowed certain rules, they're now looking to invest here. So Chile is a huge opportunity. Colombia is in a constant state of tax uproar. They are really making decisions to relocate entirely and become US tax citizens because it could be significantly more convenient for them to be subject to tax here than in their home country. So we've seen a lot of movement from Colombia because they are always experiencing tax rules. So, and then Mexico, because of the political uncertainty right now, Mexico's always been a huge market for us, continues to be. They not only want to invest in property, but they are also looking to have like a second home or a vacation home or something to start putting their foot more on the ground. But there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of need for resources in South America and Latin America. And the countries are all speaking about wealth taxes, which always makes the wealthy want to diversify their assets, and real estate's always been a big push for them. So especially with coronavirus, we had a lot of clients call us and say, what's happening in the US? So you guys are giving away trillions, and here there's like no support, and they're really saying like maybe it is worth paying the tax. And I tell them, you're expecting something so much worse, and there's never been a pre-immigration tax planning case where we've shown them this is what your tax would look like whether you're investing or moving here, and it's always significantly less than what they expected. But all the turmoil, all the changes, coronavirus, the lack of resources and support, the fear and uncertainty is really making a huge push of people either wanting to diversify, wanting to move, and real estate and financial investments has always been a big thing for them. But the banks are a little bit difficult, so real estate's actually seeming like the better option because of all the due diligence that's taking place at the banks, and it's getting a little bit more complicated.
You have all of our phone numbers, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
They all have.
Thank you.
Traveling abroad, that's always my biggest recommendation, because I say, who do you work with? And it's just somebody that's constantly traveling to their region, or somebody that niches into a certain country or a certain demographic, but having a presence wherever you go, that's who I see that they're working with. And they may not even be the best, but it's who they've known from a friend. They work amongst friends. So getting in with one group, for us, it's been really great. We work with one family and we end up working with the entire neighborhood. That's always a big suggestion, getting good with one niche region.
Thank you so much. Question for all 3 of you, because we're running a little short on time. What can agents tell their global domestic customers about Miami to get them here? Let's start with Kelly, if you have anything to say regarding that question. What can our agents tell their customers, global or domestic, to get them to Miami, to move to Miami?
Well, I think at the end of the day, if you're speaking to an international client, of course, you can lay out the exchange rate for them and of course, explain how favorable it is for them to purchase a property here. Many of the major currencies are still stronger than the US dollar, so they could get great value when converting their currency here. Also, if they're looking to rent out their properties and not necessarily relocate here, there's obviously a massive demand for rental properties, so they're likely able to demonstrate a return on their investment. And the US has always been sort of seen as a safe haven investment. So I really don't think that a foreign national buyer can go wrong with deciding to invest here in Florida.
Thank you very much. Bill, what would you tell a client, foreign or domestic, that would get them to move to Miami? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Now we hear you.
I would tell them they better hurry because, you know, this is heaven here. And there's only so much dirt here. We're easy to get to. We're international. You're going to get a return on the investment, and it's safe, and it's affordable. You just better hurry. I mean, think about it. Think about it. We're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And a lot of other places internationally ain't ever going to be fine. So I say, you know, there's no more real estate being made here. So you better hurry.
Now you know why you have that big job with that 50th floor office.
27.
27, 40.
No, but think about it. Think about it. Why? I mean, now is the time to come here, right now, while you can.
I'm answering the question by putting up this state-by-state comparison. I mean, if you look at Florida versus New York, California, Chicago, it's a no-brainer. Florida, Miami is one of only 7 states in the US that doesn't have individual income tax. Our corporate tax is 4.5%. So if they even want to establish their business here, and even though they wouldn't necessarily go through a C Corp, but foreigners would, it's significantly more appealing than most of the other popular states. We don't have an additional death and estate tax like New York and Chicago do. The amount of savings there are overall from a property tax, fuel tax, sales tax comparison to the other major metropolitan cities is significant. And worldwide, well, these are the corporate tax rates. Florida is always like #1 in terms of tax friendly. And then worldwide, the wealth tax that's about to take place and hit them, like they need to diversify. And I've been at the firm for 11 years. The clients that came in 2009 from Venezuela are doing significantly better than the clients that came 5 years later. So every country is experiencing that type of instability that if they don't diversify, it's going to be a little bit too late. And there's ways to do it. A lot of foreigners don't know. It's simple, very easy. Yes, you are allowed to own property here. Yes, you're allowed to own an LLC or corporation. It should be owned by a foreign corp when you're a foreigner for state tax protection, but that's a separate topic. But it's a simple, easy way. There's simple, easy ways to invest in the U.S. And for anyone from any other state, I mean, there's just no comparison. I like this little one-pager I found.
Nicole, will we have access to all of these charts?
Yes, I'll send them over to you. Most things are from taxfoundation.org. They have every country by country comparisons. And then Kiplinger has a state by state that gives you this one. For every state, every city, every zip code, what is the estimated tax burden compared to somewhere else. But this is them if they're going to relocate. Buying property here doesn't mean you have Florida nexus in terms of your personal income tax. So there's the person willing to relocate, there's the person that's investing, and then there's the foreigner that's in between both. So there's different, but overall for every option, there's something beneficial.
And then there's a domestic buyer that's going to homestead here.
Yes.
Declare the taxes here. Yeah.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Kelly, how do we stay aware of currency exchanges worker exchange information, which may affect whether foreigners are going to want to buy, to sell, etc.? How do we stay on top of that?
So that's a great question. MoneyCorp does send out a daily exchange rate email. I know that some of you on this call here may already receive that. It's just a snapshot at some of the major currency pairs, but when you start to receive it daily, you'll start to notice the fluctuations in the currency. So if you would like to sign up to receive the daily rates email, feel free to email me, kelly.cutchin@moneycorp.com. I just put it in the chat as well. And I guess, if I have to say one thing, it's, not to let your international buyers or sellers use their bank when transferring funds internationally. So please just, save my number, text me, call me. We want to make sure that your clients get the most bang for their buck and obviously don't get their money stuck anywhere, for example, due to the United States Patriot Act. So please, please, please just build a relationship with someone at MoneyCorp so that we can help make sure that your clients are in a safe place.
Can you explain that for a second? Why should they not use banks? And how long does it take to actually wire money over here?
I would love to. So the reason why a customer shouldn't use their bank is that banks take big margins on the exchange rate. So there's something known as the interbank rate of exchange. That's the rate that big banks are buying and selling, or the rate that you see if you go on Google, but that's not the rate that your customers have access to. Banks typically take a margin or a spread, dependent on where the client is coming from, of anywhere from 3 to even 8, 9%. Banks in the US are among the worst. So if you're dealing with a foreign national buyer, obviously they've got an international bank that they're consulting with to make that transfer here. They're probably getting a 5% margin. MoneyCorp works off of a less than 1% margin. So that's super important for your buyers to shop around to get the best rate of exchange. And if you're dealing with a seller, gosh, you don't want them to use a US bank to get their money out, because they're going to be faced with upwards of 5-8% spreads, because US banks just don't specialize in currency exchange.
You are a great resource for our clients.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to help.
Bill, how are we looking in terms of major conventions next year? Are we booking up for next year, or are people still on the sidelines?
Sonia Fong is on the line. We've got some, we were disappointed. She's running our convention sales operation now. And we were all disappointed when Art Basel postponed for a year. They just couldn't, and the first year they postponed. But some of the good news is, and Sonia can fill in the blanks, the college football championships, which is scheduled for January 11th. We had the Super Bowl, February 2nd, 2020, our 11th Super Bowl, more than any other city. But what I thought, there was no way that college football championship would happen. There's a very good chance that's going to be here. All of the conferences are playing football, and I see that happening. We're going to kind of use that as they said yes. We're in the process of getting the convention center open. It's basically been this whole 6 months available as a hospital and a testing site. I think that's coming to an end. So we have a facility to sell. We're going to have the Bureau's annual meeting October 21st. It's going to be a hybrid. It'll be in the ballroom, and that ballroom was last used as a media center for the Super Bowl. And Sonia can tell you all the great meetings she's been booking while I'm on these Zooms. Sonia?
Hi,
Hello,
Sonia.
everyone. Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Talbot. Hello, everyone. Yes, I wanted to give you a brief update. I am in touch with customers on a daily basis, as well as our team. And there has been a pause and a lot of, future meetings, but people are engaged. Just right now, a few minutes ago, I was late to this webinar. I was speaking with a customer that is looking to book April 2021. Is an event that is relocating to a city that has a lot of very strict mandate that they would not make it possible. As Mr. Talbot alluded, we did have the ACF, which is the alternate care facility, that is moving out as we speak. And the good news is there was no patients in there. So it's great, great platform for our clients, even though it was ready to use, but it was not used. our customers are still engaged, and at this time, they are still cautious. So hopefully in a few months or so, they will continue to commit. So they are looking at future, but not immediately commit to a city. But we have a lot of things that a lot of cities don't have, and having a brand new convention center, potentially headquarter hotel in terms of larger conventions, we are back on the map that we have never been before. And our bureau is doing a lot of work. Well, I know we've been very busy, you know, keep promoting, whether it's locally and out of the state. So we are working very hard, and hopefully the mindset of our customer would change, and we will get back all the business that we have postponed this year.
Let me also say, because guys like Andres, who was on the Convention Center Advisory Board, knows this. The Convention Bureau is also very heavily and responsible to bring meetings and conventions to hotels. You know, we're a membership, and we have virtually all of the hotels are members. So we do the convention centers and the meeting space there. But you know, some hotels have they're kind of little mini convention centers. And where do we drive the business to? We let the customer decide. We say, so here's what we have to offer. Here are the options, and you decide. So it's not all the convention center. It's the 56,000 hotel rooms we have countywide, and its meetings opportunities.
How are the occupancy rates at hotels right now versus pre-COVID?
30%.
30% of 100% of what they were, or 30% as a total, as an average?
30% of the, hotel occupancy is 30% of your rooms.
Right. What was
30%
it
of
pre-COVID? 70%?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
70,
still a drop.
80, sometimes 80. But remember, the hotels were closed, not because the hotels wanted to be closed, but the governments closed the hotels. And
Now they're all allowed to be open now, yes?
They're all allowed to be open. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Lord.
Nicole, how do you protect clients from estate taxes?
So for a foreign individual, it's entirely different than a US individual. A foreign individual only has a $60,000 exemption, while a US domiciled individual has 11.058 million. And a foreign individual is subject to estate tax on any US situs assets, which always includes real estate. Many times they think, well, I don't own the real estate, I own the LLC, or I own a corporation. And stock is a US situs asset. So if you hold stock of a US corporation, the value of the real estate is the value of the stock, and you're subject to estate tax on that. We do about 3 to 4 estate tax returns a month, and it's something that can be easily avoided. The most simple way, there's few ways, but the most simple way for a foreigner to invest in the US and to protect from estate tax, and it's also a structure that's convenient besides estate tax, is to use a double tier corporation. Basically have the owner of the property or the US entity be a foreign corporation. This has to be an entity that's considered a corporation, which almost all of them are, except for a few that are in France and in the UK. And if that corporation owns the property, or owns the LLC or corporation that owns the property, basically if the owner dies, the foreign corporation continues existing perpetually. So there's no estate tax because the US has no jurisdiction over that foreign corporation. So the US understands that the foreign corporation continues being the owner of that US entity or of that US property, regardless of that owner dying. So that's a very simple way to protect from estate tax. Never buying the property directly, never buying the property directly through an LLC that the foreigner owns. There's a misconception that if they put 5 people in the company, that it's only on that percentage, and it's not. It's on whoever contributed the funds. So if a father puts 5 children on the deed, it's still whoever was the contributor of the funds. When he passes, it's estate tax on the entire fair market value at the moment of death. So for a foreigner, using a foreign corporation or using a foreign trust, but a foreign corporation is a simple way to do it.
But do they have to pay taxes in their country on the gain?
on the game. It depends what country they're from. Not every country has a worldwide tax system the way the US does. They're starting to. A lot of countries are modeling us, and they've figured out that's a great way to get revenue. Let's tax our citizens or residents on the worldwide income. So that's a big change. That's also putting a big push on foreigners coming here. So in their country, they may not have a state tax, so they can avoid that. But if they're from a country that does have a state tax, it's lower rates than here if it's from Latin America. And in Europe, it's a little bit different. But avoiding it here is a big deal because it's 40% on the fair market value with only a $60,000 exclusion. For US individuals, there's trust planning, there's gifting. You have a $22 million exemption if you're married. So that's something that can be protected for way more. But for a foreigner, it's extremely low. And that's why the rule of thumb is to always make sure you set up the purchase simply. Changing it later, you have FERPTA issues, you have potential transfer tax issues. So it doesn't hamper the deal. It's something that they can set up in five days and have it ready. In most countries that we work with, because we help foreigners establish a company abroad, a simple one in Panama or whatever jurisdiction that they want to work with, and it can be done in 5 to 7 business days. You have it set up.
Thank you very much. Kelly, there are owners concerned that the dollar will drop in value after the election. Is that a fair concern?
So I think everyone realizes that no one has a crystal ball, but what we do know is that there will be volatility around the election with exchange rates, right? From one day to the next, you could have dollar strength, you could have dollar weakness. And even when you see an exchange rate fluctuate by even 0.5% for someone making a $200,000 investment even, that's a substantial fluctuation. So the good news is that with Money Corp, we can help customers monitor an exchange rate. So we can do similar to the stock market, a stop loss and a limit order to help protect a buyer and to make sure that they stay within their range. Because to answer your question, yes, we are going to see fluctuations. Where those are going to go, that's a difficult one to answer. But we do have the ability to lock into an exchange rate for up to 2 years. So if you are working with a foreign buyer who is concerned that the exchange rate is going to move against them and they're working with a budget and they've got a time frame, I would highly encourage them to speak to a currency exchange expert about locking into the exchange rate and eliminating that risk altogether, or at least putting in those parameters of a stop loss and limit order so they're protected, because we will see volatility.
Fantastic. What is the cost to lock in an exchange rate?
So there's no cost. What we do is basically forward purchase the currency on behalf of the customer. The customer does need to send in a 10% deposit, but that deposit subsequently offsets the total balance that they will need to send us. So if they would like to agree today's exchange rate, we can go ahead and do that for them. They would need to send us 10% for up to 2 years of the total amount that they'd like to transfer.
Who earns interest on the 10%?
There is no, and it's held in an escrow account and a non-interest bearing account, so there's no interest.
Got it. Another question for you, Kelly, quickly. Do you see Canadian investors trying to sell their condos to take advantage of the US dollar?
Yes, we do. However, we're simultaneously seeing them continue to come down, right? So, and you have to look at it. The Canadians might want to sell right now, but they aren't really that interested in taking their piece of sunshine away. So they tend to hold on to their properties longer than maybe a foreign investor from somewhere else, because let's face it, they're Canadians. They don't want to stop coming to Florida. They're probably, if they're not using it themselves, they definitely have friends or family that is using it. So yes, we are seeing some Canadian sellers, but at the same time, we're still seeing the Canadian buyers come down despite the fact that they're only getting 75 cents to the dollar.
Thank you. Nicole, anything to add with that question? Do you see Canadians selling to cash in on the high dollar?
No, I agree with Kelly. They like to have their property here, so they may, I've seen not significantly more compared to other countries, but more investment in the US to benefit from that, but selling their properties, I don't think they want to do that. We've got great weather.
Bill, we have a question. This is a big one. Any hope of nonstop flights to and from China coming up? Obviously, post-COVID. We can't hear you, Bill.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
The answer is we got close, and I think it's much further away. Much further away. We had all worked on, we got close with the Japan Airlines from Tokyo, but I think the current environment is not conducive to that. We're going to keep working on it, but I think there is a plane that can do it, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of warmth between the two countries right now.
Not right now. Maybe soon. Maybe not.
Well, I will tell you that China, FIU has a campus in Beijing's port city, Tianjin, and I'm on the Dean's Council there. And I'm on the U.S. Travel Association Executive Committee. China was heading to be, within the next couple of years, the #1 inbound country in the world and the #1 outbound country in the world. For us, outbound is, but they were going to overtake France. So I think all of that has slowed up, but a lot of things have slowed up, but ultimately it will happen, but not as soon as we all wanted it to. Good
That
question.
would be a big boom for Miami,
Good
right?
question. Good question.
Thank you. Kelly, any international exchange laws we should be discussing with clients? Can't hear you. You're on mute.
Yes.
There you
Okay. I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question, Jeff?
Any new international exchange laws we should be discussing with our clients?
Not
Anything
necessarily new laws, but they're laws that people don't realize until it's too late. So one of the
Bill,
things
Bill, you need to mute yourself, Bill.
There he goes. So one of the things that we see hurt customers a lot is the fact that they don't understand the rules that the banks have, right? And so as Nicole mentioned, these rules keep getting kind of, they change and they keep getting stricter and stricter. So what happens when you're working with a foreign national seller is oftentimes the title company or the closing agent will ask the seller, where would you like your proceeds deposited at the time of closing? And if the seller doesn't receive the right guidance, they may tell the title company, just put my money in my US bank account. I'll worry about it next week, or perhaps I'll wait until the exchange rate fluctuates positively for me, and then I'll move my funds back home. The issue is that the banks will not do an international wire transfer without the customer being physically present in the bank. And guess what? One, they don't want to fly here to have to do that. And two, in a lot of instances, they can't fly here to do that right now. So it's important that pre-closing, we're having these discussions with foreign national sellers to make sure that they know that potential issue, and they can either instruct the title company to send their dollars straight to Money Corp so that then we can, do whatever they want in the future, or they can instruct the title company to send the funds straight back home, but know that then they're subject to the bank that the title company banks with, which is a US bank, and then let's go back, they're going to get a bad exchange rate. It happens with buyers as well. I'll just mention some buyers try to be proactive. They think I'll go ahead and move my funds into my US bank, and then when I'm ready to close, I'll just do that domestic transfer into the title company. And again, you can have some banks that are restricting this customer from moving their money whilst they're sat abroad. So I wouldn't necessarily say laws, but there's a lot of banking rules that catch people off guard.
I think we all learned that we need to have them call you before they deposit their money in the bank. Guys, any other questions? Send them now. Otherwise, we're going to close up here in a little bit. I'd like to, let's see if anything comes in the next 30 seconds. I think I have everybody's questions unless I missed someone. Okay, let's get closed up. Nicole, Kelly, and Bill, thank you for this fascinating and engaging discussion, and for everything you do to bring visitors and future residents to Miami. We truly appreciate your time and its participation. You guys are all super.
We're going to be just fine. Remember that. We're going to be just fine.
We know that already.
What he said.
No, yeah, we're good. What he said, exactly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
MBF members, please join me in thanking event chairs Pat Parker, Chris Zoller, Ralph DiMartino, and Donna Bloom for making this discussion possible. We'd like to thank all of you who've donated to our MBF Cares campaign, which supports our food insecure neighbors hit hardest by the pandemic. It's been led by board member Andres Sacion, and I'd like to invite him to say a few words right now. Andres?
Thank you, Jeff. That was a great panel discussion, and thank you for all the panelists as well. That was fantastic, extremely informative. My name is Andres Sacion, and on behalf of the fellow board members, I want to thank everyone who has supported the Master Brokers Forum's CARES campaign. With your help and through our partnership with Presidente Supermarket and the United Way, we've made huge difference in the lives of South Florida families struggling to put food on their tables. As you know, the pandemic has been very difficult for entire communities. When it all started, I saw long lines of people waiting for food donations and decided to roll up my sleeves and go out there and buy groceries directly to families in need at grocery stores while families were waiting in line. The word got around, thanks to amazing donations from friends, families, and even strangers who actually helped me get this started, made a big difference. And obviously to Presidente for matching the donations that were made by our friends in the community. And then the pandemic hit home. My mom and my whole family basically got COVID. My mom was in ICU for 30 days. It was touch and go for a while there. We thought we were gonna lose her, but thank God she survived. She's home safe, and that's been great. But too many other neighbors are not as fortunate. In addition to the loss of life, an added burden to many in the healthcare system, the pandemic has closed many businesses, taken jobs, forced thousands into food dependency. And that's why I'm asking you once again to support this effort. Your donation will be matched 100% in the form of groceries by Presidente and the United Way, and we'll be helping out these families who are truly in need. You can click on the link on the Zoom chat if you want to be a part of this beautiful effort. And again, thank you again for everything that you're doing, and everything counts. Whether you do this with us or you do your small piece of paying it forward on your own, whatever it is, know that that many people are out there in need, and it's our duty as residents of this place we call the world to pay it forward as much as we can, as often as we can. So thank you very much.
Andres, what you're doing is amazing. Can you very quickly just tell them how it works? You go to the supermarket.
Oh, basically, I have been going to the supermarket to Presidente and waiting by the lines as people are going to check out. They do not know that I'm going to be buying their groceries. And I walk up to the line and I basically purchase the groceries for them. And I've been doing this for quite a while. Basically, it impacted thousands of families already. And then with more donations, we've been able to target groups of people individually that we know through organizations that need the help. So we've done 100 at a time and gotten all the necessities and taken them to those families. And
then Presidente matches. So if you spend $250, it only they give you $500 worth of groceries.
They basically give me a check back for 50% of the cost.
So we're getting food at half the price and helping hungry people.
Or helping double the amount of people, basically. So it's a big impact.
So I would like to offer to match whatever comes in from now until Friday at 5 p.m. up to $5,000.
Boom.
So I encourage all of you to please come in and donate. Andres, where do they do that?
Jason, are you on board? I think that Jason is putting the link onto our page. On the
Correct.
chat.
If you look at the chat right now, the link is there to donate to the MBF Cares. You will see that the MBF logo, but it directly goes to the Andres Sacion Foundation. But that is the conduit through which we get the donations.
Right. And by the way, just for the record, 100% of the donations get paid forward. There's no admin fees of any sort whatsoever. And anybody who wants to be a part of it and actually go and see us doing this together could 100% by all means be a part of it as well.
How often do you go into this?
Once every 2 weeks right now. Before it was once a week.
And I would just add, we are partnering with United Way on this effort, and they're helping us identify the families most in need who will get donations at a later date.
So guys, this is unlike other charities where 92% goes for administration and the rest goes to the recipients. This is 100% doubled and now quadrupled. So 5 p.m. Friday, whatever you give, I will double. Please jump in. Thank you. Andres, thank you so much. Finally, in addition to these discussions and the benefits of distinguishing yourself, whoop, there's some sound. Does anybody else hear it? There we go. In addition to these discussions and the benefits of distinguishing yourselves as a master broker, we encourage you to follow MBF on social media, share our posts, and like them. Very important. So great information for you to share with your clients. And please like our posts on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Am I missing something?
Twitter.
I guess not. In Twitter, sorry. And please take advantage of our free Master Broker Voices program and Master Broker Listings program. We allow you to share your new fabulous listings with all of our members, another tool that you have that no one else in town does. Please take advantage. Speakers, panel, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Good night, stay safe, and stay beautiful.